Warning! This program contains actual real-life events that actually happened and are actually immoral and actually really quite sad. Names have been changed to protect the identities of those involved. Although I could have not been that nice. I'm not passive-aggressive or anything. Nuh-uh. Hi, and welcome to this week's video where I tell you a story about how I had 2 fake job interviews for 2 fake companies in a row. And on the same day! Before we get the show on the road, I'm hoping you like the new setup. I don't watch TV anymore, so I have a ginormous 32-inch screen here and my trusty 23-inch monitor over here for a dual-screen setup. I've also got my Blue Snowball mic and an HD Logitech webcam. If this setup doesn't work, I'll change it back, but so far I love it because I can actually see myself on the screen right now. But this setup will of course change when I move out and get a job. That is, if I can find an actual job. You know, one that isn't fake. Yep, grab your popcorn folks and your big gulp, because this one's going to be a long one. Yes, I'm trying my very best to get a new job that hopefully falls within my Bachelor of Science degree in Mass Communication. I knew I would have to move to a much larger city as I was pursuing my degree, and now the time has come for me to break out. I had a work from home job and my 6-month contract ended at the end of July. I didn't want to renew it because that would mean I would have to sign on for another 6 months and the pay wasn't that good at all. With my contract ending at the end of July, the timing was weird. I wanted to go with my family on a family vacation to Houston and also attend Texas Furry Siesta immediately afterwards in Dallas. I told myself I would immediately start looking for work after I got back from Siesta and just let my contract expire. Oh yeah, this is kind of a learning experience video too. Yeah, needless to say, don't quit your job or anything until you know you have a new one. Don't do it. So I started looking for jobs in Austin and Dallas, Texas. I've been wanting to move to Texas for quite some time, and this was the perfect opportunity for me to move there. I chose Austin and Dallas because they aren't that far away from my family, and because they're not Houston, where you would have to worry about the hurricanes. Not to mention I have a bunch of friends in Texas. Hi, I know you're watching. Anywho, I began looking in Austin exclusively because I have a very good friend in Austin who said I could stay with her for a bit until I found an apartment. However, she said I had to be out by September because she would be moving out at the end of August. So this gave me a little over a month to find a job in Austin. Can't be that hard, right? Wrong! I applied for jobs on every site you can think of. LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, for 3 weeks to no avail. I finally just gave up applying in Austin exclusively and began looking in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well. I finally got a bite! Well, 2 bites last Tuesday morning. A marketing company in Austin called me first, and they said they liked my resume and cover letter that I emailed them that Monday morning. I thought they must have really wanted me if they got back with me that fast. The woman on the phone asked if I could come in for an interview on Wednesday, and I said I live in Oklahoma, but I would be more than happy to have a phone interview with them. She said, oh, like she was shocked or something, but she probably just didn't look at where I was from before calling me, even though it says quite clearly on my resume where I'm from. She said they don't do phone interviews, and for out-of-towners, they set resumes aside until candidates can find a time to visit the city. I then said, okay, sounds good. Please do that if you don't mind, even though I had no intention of going down there. Later that morning, I got a call from another marketing company, but this one was in Dallas. She introduced herself and the company and said she just wanted to let me know someone forwarded her my resume. Nothing more, nothing less. I thought I must have been making waves in Dallas because I had only begun looking for jobs there just a few days prior. I also thought it was nice that someone would forward her my resume. When my dad got home, I told my family the good news. Now, as with most everyone else, my dad hates his job. He despises it, actually. He told me he had some vacation to burn and offered to drive me down to Austin just so he could get away from his job at least for a day. I thought this was very nice of him, and I thanked him. I called the Austin company back, but my call went to voicemail. I then emailed them using the same email I used to send my resume and cover letter. I asked if I could please interview with them for the position Thursday morning, and within 5 minutes, I got a yes response. I then booked a hotel for my dad and me, and we were all set. Before we left on Wednesday, we all thought it would be a good idea to call the Dallas company back and see if I could schedule an interview for any position they may have. I called them back, and lo and behold, they had an interview slot for me open at 4 p.m. on Thursday. So with much excitement, my dad and I headed to Austin after he got home from work. Skipping to Austin, my dad dropped me off Thursday morning in front of a pretty tall office building. I then took the elevator to the 14th floor. As soon as I got up there, the scene kind of reminded me of The Devil Wears Prada. You know how there was a glass door separating the elevator from the office? Yep, that was there. So you walk through the glass door to a large open room with a coffee bar. All of the coffee is free, so I don't know how that works, but hey, it's there for the taking. You immediately have to check in with the receptionist right inside the door. As was said at the beginning of this video, all the names have been changed, so let's just say I was interviewing for a company called Dory and Friends. Believe it or not, it's actually like that. So I told her I was a bit early, but I was interviewing with Dory and Friends. I guess it was for security reasons, but she had to scan the barcode on the back of my driver's license and had to take my picture. She said I would be meeting with a woman named Donna White and that I should check out the coffee bar as I waited. I wasn't in all that mood for coffee, so I just sat at a table. About a minute later, I saw someone else walk through the glass door. He looked to be as young as me, and he walked over and asked if he could sit with me and talk since he was a bit nervous. He introduced himself as Charles, and we both got to talking. Come to find out, we were both interviewing with Dory and Friends at the exact same time, but he was interviewing for an internship, and I was interviewing for a brand ambassador position. As you may or may not know, working as a brand ambassador is more or less a dream job. You get paid to basically travel and represent a company, nationally or sometimes even internationally. Getting paid $160 a day as a job listing advertised isn't all that much, but it would at least be a start for me in Austin, especially if you get paid to travel. Also during this time, I started researching Donna White. Donna was actually the person who responded to my email within 5 minutes. She was also the CEO of Dory and Friends. Before long, it was time for our interviews. Donna was casually late, and we introduced ourselves and left poor Charles behind. I will never know what will become of his poor unfortunate soul if he accepted his internship. We came to a meeting room, which was a bit awkward to have a job interview in. She sat in a chair alongside the table, and I awkwardly didn't know where to sit, so I just sat one chair away from her. We started to chat, and she asked where I was from and such. Blah, blah, blah. Finally, it was my turn to ask some questions. I asked about benefits, and all she said was, medical. I then asked about PTO, and she said, they don't offer it. I thought this was pretty unusual if you work a full-time job. She then asked about payment. She was like, well, it just depends on how hard you work because it's all commission-based. I was thinking in my head, no! Oh no! This is all a scam! But I stayed cool-headed and reserved. She said the company helps Fortune 100 companies market their products, especially AT&T. She told me she could have one of her representatives talk with me. At that point in time, I really didn't care all that much and decided to just have some fun. I said, well, okay, but I have another job interview at 4 p.m. Dallas is 3 hours away, so I knew I had to leave by 12:30 or so we can grab some lunch on the way up there. She was like, oh, well, it won't take all that long for him to get here. I was thinking she was going to bring someone from AT&T or someplace to meet with me, but instead it was just one of her workers who got there about 5 minutes later. George came in with a big grin on his face, and we both shook hands. Now, I don't know where George is from exactly, but he apologized for his quote-unquote Australian-British accent. George is kind of the snake oil salesman of the company. He tries to entice people to work for the company and said I would be a manager of my own company within a year. I was so confused. He went through his little sales pitch to me about how I would start out being trained to become a salesman, going door to door, selling AT&T products. I was like, nope, I ain't no door-to-door sales fox. He said I would start off making $400 a week for the first couple of months, and I was laughing internally. What a joke of a number, especially working and living in Austin with a full-time job. I would never ever take a position like that was all commission-based, but it was. He said within 2 months I would manage a team of 5, then after 4 a team of 20, and you would get paid more each week. He used some kind of math that really didn't make that much sense to me, but it didn't have to. Just as long as that one poor desperate soul took the position. Listen, I could sure use a job, but I'm not that desperate. He asked me some questions and I didn't even try that hard. I got some stuff intentionally wrong. Finally, at the end, he said, I know you don't have that much experience, but hey, I'm willing to give you a chance. I like you. I'll recommend Gary to hire you. I was thinking, who's Gary? But at this point, it didn't really matter anymore. We both got up and he was already congratulating me. He recommended that I grab some chilled coffee and chill. Get it? And wait for Gary, who would be seeing me soon. He then shook my hand and opened the door for us to exit the room. He said he liked my tie and I thanked him. I began internally laughing even more because I got it from Walmart when it was on sale for $4. So I went to the same seat I was sitting in when I got there and I looked at the time. It was already 11:45 and, remember, I had to leave by 12:30 to eat lunch to get to my other interview in Dallas by 4. I waited and waited and waited even more for this mysterious Gary guy. I was thinking in my head that I would leave at 12:20 if he didn't get there by then. Finally, around 12:10 he appeared and apologized profusely and led me back to his personal office. It was revealed that George fought tooth and nail for me, and because of this, Gary offered me the position and said congratulations. I was like, wait just a gosh darn minute, hold on here. I told him that I needed to see some kind of paperwork or contract before I accepted, and he said he could email it to me and ask when I could start. I was trying my best to not get the job, so I told him it would be at least the last Monday in August to give me some time to find an apartment and move down there and such. He said that was okay, and again, congratulations. I told him I needed some time to think about it, and that I would let him know by the next day on Friday whether I would accept or not. He told me, okay, but the position will stay open until it's filled. I said, alright, that's fine, and booked it out of there. My dad then picked me up, and we were on our way to Dallas. It was 12:26 when I got in the car, and on the way to Dallas, we had to grab some food on the go from a gas station. But before then, I got a call from the company I was interviewing with in Dallas. Let's just call them Sharko. Again, the company sounds a lot like this actually. I had already been in contact with this woman before, and she was just checking in, making sure I would be there in time, and I said I would. I thought it was super nice for her to care about me that much, to give me a call like that. We got to Sharko in Dallas at 3:40. This gave me 20 minutes to get to their office. They were also in an office building, but it was only 3 floors high. I got to the office and checked in with the receptionist. She asked if I had my resume with me, and I said I did. She then handed me a clipboard with the form to fill out, and I remember seeing around 15 more behind the counter, ready for other candidates. I thought this was strange. I also thought it was strange that I had to fill out this form, even though everything on the form is included in every typical resume. I clipped the form and my resume to the clipboard and handed it back to her. I then sat down and began to look around while I waited. I saw how little there was in the office, even though they had been in their Dallas office for months. It looked like a movie set or something like that. After around 10 minutes or so, a hiring manager came to take me to his office. He introduced himself as John Mueller. Unbeknownst to him, I actually did some research beforehand, and I knew he was the CEO. I was very surprised that he introduced himself as a hiring manager, even though he was the CEO. We began walking to his personal office, and I saw just how barren the office truly is. We got to his office, and he asked me to take a seat. I did, and also began looking around. You would think the CEO of a company would at least have a nameplate on his desk, but he didn't. His office was extremely threadbare for being a CEO of a company. There was a bookshelf behind his desk with barely anything on it. The only thing he had on his desk was a computer monitor to the side that appeared to not be plugged in. He began the interview by asking me to tell a bit about myself. Then, out of the blue, he asked if I like sports. I personally don't, but he said he has some kind of deal with the Dallas Cowboys where his employees can watch the games for free. I was thinking, oh, that's pretty cool, I guess. He then started talking about how the company works with a lot of Fortune 100 companies, and most of all, AT&T. Nope, nope, nope! Alarm bells be ringing off the chain. That was basically the whole interview, and it lasted all of 10 minutes. He finally told me there would be 3 rounds of interviews, and that he would choose only 5 candidates to make it to the second round, and that someone would call me back if I made it. Apparently, I didn't make it, but I would have said nope anyway. On my way home, I reflected on it and thought about how Sharko compared to Dory and Friends. Both of these companies are extremely alike. Both asked over the phone for me to come interview for positions that didn't exist and were merely ploys to get me and others in for an interview. And most importantly, both talked extensively about AT&T. But Sharko is even worse because they're not upfront about it. They want you to come in for 3 rounds of interviews to discover the truth of a 100% commission door-to-door salesperson job. I have personally concluded that at least both of these businesses are colluding with or are in cahoots with each other to deceive job candidates and their employees. Needless to say, my family and I aren't really happy, but hey, at least my dad and I got to spend some time together. I have since reported both companies to AT&T, who said they would look into the matter, and I have also reported Sharko to ZipRecruiter and LinkedIn. I hope some justice will be served. I also did some research on both companies. With Dory and Friends, Donna is apparently some kind of con artist who opens up businesses like Dory and Friends, and her name is infamous throughout New York City. No wonder why she had to move away. Unfortunately, she's still causing mayhem in Austin and maybe even more cities. If you Google George's full name, he actually has a headshot on ExploreTalent.com, so he could very well be a hired actor. As for Sharko, their ratings on Glassdoor.com have been artificially inflated, but amongst the lies, you will see the truth of them being nothing more but glorified door-to-door salespeople. So I am here to warn you, and especially warn fellow job seekers. Before you apply for a job or go in for an interview, make sure you do your thorough research. It will save you the time and money that I wasted dealing with these fake companies and their deceptive business practices. It's very sad we have to make sure even businesses we apply for are legit, but that's just the world we live in today. I hope you enjoyed my story and this little update from me. No, I'm not dead, and yes, I will find the job. I promise I'll be a bit smarter about it next time. I should learn my lesson from all this. But it all worked out in the end, and I gained a unique story to tell you all. As I always say, stay awesome, stay fluffy, and of course, stay furry. Later, alligators!